Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and this is 70 Millimeter, a podcast for film fans just like you. With me, as always, is my close friend and artist, Danny Haas.
Hello.
And our close friend and sex magic expert, Protolexis.
On 70mm, we love to talk about a range of topics, including menswear, dummy work, rising film stars, French New Wave cinema. But this week we are focusing on two of our most favorite topics, women and murder.
Every episode is connected to a theme for that month, and this time it's Femtember. Final name still in progress. We're only covering movies directed by women. So Proto's pick this week is Anna Biller's The Love Witch from 2016. And you can use the chapters in your podcast app to skip right to that discussion or anywhere in the episode if you want. Kate Rose left a review from our community. Watched this a few weeks ago and forgot to log it. Feels kind of appropriate that it was my 69th movie of the year.
Deleted scene.
Nice.
Ahsoka Episode 4. The big news this week. We'll get into it in the uncut episode. We're not going to get into it in this show.
Yeah,
the uncut, supporter only. We're going to go hard on Ahsoka Episode 4 in the uncut. I do want to point out there's a lot of stuff coming soon. You know, next episode is my pick.
Yeah.
I'm going to announce it at the end of the show. But we will be going back to the Patreon comment well.
Oh.
Last time I think we made a post like, what was it? Was it a theme idea? Was it May?
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. So there is another week this month for Femtember. So stay tuned, patrons. By the time this episode is out, it will probably be live, but we'll be looking in the comments for some suggestions for the final movie of the month. And we will be choosing one of those movies.
One winner.
Art already typing in Yentl.
If he types Yentl.
Art, we will give you a timeout so fast on Patreon comments. We've already also picked our next audio commentary episode. We hashed it out in the DMs today.
I think we were just told what we were doing. I saw it. I'm like, well, I guess
we were produced.
Sometimes
we
you
got
have to
produced
take charge.
today.
Okay.
I saw it come through, and I'm like, I don't remember talking about this, but I have a terrible memory, so I'm just gonna go with it.
I'm very excited for it, though.
Yeah, me too, though.
This is a big moment.
Right now, we're hashing out the date at which we recorded. I proposed a date. The DMs went radio silent. Anytime I propose a date, it's like 3 hours go by and no one responds until we change topics later in the afternoon.
Because we know your finger is hovering over the Google Calendar in invite, and if we say anything,
it never fails. It never fails.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's a survey. There's a lot happening. We're doing a survey for patrons. This is patron heavy at the start of the show, so anyone who doesn't care, sorry, you can skip ahead. The new survey's coming out. We're going to be talking about the upcoming months, giving some news like here's what to expect this month as a patron.
Changes.
So a lot of cool stuff coming. Stay tuned. Let's get into Over the Garden Wall. Let's just get into it right now, okay? Danny, you watched it this week.
I watched it.
First time ever?
Yeah, it was the first time ever for me. And I did comic book conventions in Artist Alley for what feels like my entire life at this point. And I've always seen Over the Garden Wall either art being produced in Artist Alley or people just dressed up as cosplay. And for me, I had assumed that I missed the boat for this cartoon, like a SpongeBob or something that a generation before me was in love with that I didn't think I'd connect with. So I just kind of ignored it for a bit. And then recently on TikTok, someone did like a montage of like fall vibe cartoons or something. And I saw this pumpkin head thing come by, and I'm like, what is this pumpkin head from? And it's from this, I think the second episode where he goes to that pumpkin town village. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, I might need to watch this. So I for whatever reason, I thought Over the Garden Wall was a movie. So I went to Letterboxd, and lo and behold, it's loggable on Letterboxd. Mm-hmm. Proto with a 5-star rave about this movie. And what I thought was a movie. Then I realized it was a show. And I'm like, well, I gotta see this. I gotta see this now. Sat and I just binged it. It's easily bingeable this one season.
Binge job.
And it's so easy to fall in love with these two characters, the animation. And I did. I saw what everyone else saw in this show, and I fell in love with it right away. Easily fell in love with it. I'll watch it now, probably every fall. Then right when Olive, my oldest daughter, got home from school, I'm like, Olive, you need to watch one Over the Garden Wall. And so she did. She binged it. She loved it. So now we're gonna have like this BR. We'll watch it every fall together.
Memories being made.
And I didn't realize how much in the like Adventure Time vein it kind of is. Mm-hmm. That kind of vibe. Mm-hmm. I really thought it was a different vibe. That's why I kind of avoided it forever.
Yeah, the guy was like a former storyboard artist and I think producer on Adventure Time for a few seasons. The guy who made Over the Garden Wall. Yeah. So happy to have seen it. Any chance that I get, I'm going to try and do some art for it. I'm going to reach out to some galleries or something. Hey, do you want some art done? Because I really want to do art for it, in that time I have to do things. Yeah, you got plenty of time. Which, by the way, I should remind people, the store is back up. We did it. Not we. Danny did it. The store is back up.
Joint effort.
We were there for emotional support.
Thank you.
How come you didn't suggest this for pilot season when we did pilot season for patrons?
Over the Garden Wall?
Yeah, and then trick us into watching the whole thing. I
think this is one of the shows you need to find on your own. I don't want to force anybody over the garden wall.
So what was your experience with it, Slim?
I did make a sarcastic comment in my review.
I wasn't sure how to take that.
Because I have heard of this show for years. I've seen it in comics as well, like trades or whatever. And then I'm like, what is this? What is this Over the Garden Wall? And I don't know. I feel like it was harder to track down for a period of years. Maybe it was wasn't on Hulu or whatever. I originally tried to start watching it on Max. Watched the first episode and then it goes to episode 3. I'm like, wait, let me look at all the episodes. There's only 2 episodes on Max, and it's episode 1 and 3.
Oh, I watched it on Hulu, yeah.
Zaslav.
What are we doing?
Please. So then I went over to Hulu and watched it on Hulu. Hillary says, unfortunately, still no good Blu-ray. Interesting.
It's so interesting.
I think the main thing is I was surprised that it's one season. Mm-hmm. And, as you watch it, some of that stuff makes more sense. But yeah, I loved it. I was trepidatious because starting a new animated series with Amanda it's 50-50, but we stuck it out. We liked it. I was chuckling at so many lines. I thought it was really well done. So apparently, some other folks in chat have also not ever heard of it. Give it a shot. It's like short eps, 20-minute eps.
No, 11-minute.
11-minute eps. So it's pretty easy to give it a shot.
Yeah.
109 minutes? Is that real? It's only 109 minutes?
It's a 10, 11-minute eps or something like that.
Get in there, do the folks. you do the math. And
it's easy. Easy binge. So much fun. Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood plays the main brother. Shocking turn of events. But you didn't watch anything else this week, did you, Danny?
Did I? No, but I will plug that I watched Drawn to Perfection, which is the Dave Stevens documentary about the comic book artist that created The Rocketeer. And so next week I'll be recording a Rocketeer episode with Escape Hatch. And we'll be talking Rocketeer and a little bit about the Drawn to Perfection documentary about Dave Stevens.
Whoa.
Yeah,
so by
I
the time
watched
this
that
episode
this
is
week.
out, will that episode be out?
No.
No?
I think
It's the week
wait,
after.
am I? I don't know. No, I'm recording the day after this comes out.
Okay.
But it'll be soon. So I did watch Drawn to Perfection, and I think if it's streaming right now on Amazon Prime, and if you like The Rocketeer, then watch that. If you're a comic book fan, this is a must see, in my opinion. So if you like comics from 80s and 90s, that kind of era, and watching someone come up through the comics and that kind of grind, it's a great little documentary, and it gets you in the end. It's a little bit emotional.
What did Dave Stevens wrote and drew The Rocketeer. We talked about it in the Rocketeer app, but I even had some of those like large trades or whatever you call them, magazine size. Did he do like other stuff in other industries for design? Like he didn't do just comics, right?
Oh no, he storyboarded a lot of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that's how he kind of got in with Spielberg. And when he was pitching with the writers of the Rocketeer movie, this screenplay, so many places turned him down. Spielberg caught wind of it and said, and he was just about to go to Disney. Spielberg got wind of it and said, if Disney doesn't do it, I'll do it, direct it. And when Disney found out that Spielberg was going to direct it, they jumped on it and took it kind of out of his hands. Anyway, so he's done tons of things outside of comics. And really the documentary kind of focuses on how much of a perfectionist he is as an artist. And it's incredible to watch.
All right. Gotta add this to my watch list. Cripes.
Beautiful stuff.
Proto, you had a week. You had quite a week on your Letterboxd account. Can we get into it, please?
Wow. Where to start?
The biggest.
Well, I think it was on Saturday. My first big watch, or no, I think it was actually Labor Day. I think it was Monday. I watched Kogonada's Columbus.
Goodness gracious.
We covered one of his movies on the show after Yang. If everyone remembers that. Slim pick. And I didn't really connect with that movie so much. I'd like to revisit it now after watching Columbus, because Columbus was, wow, I connected with this movie. In incredible performances. Haley Lou Richardson's in this, who
Queen.
She was in season 2 of White Lotus.
She's great.
She's amazing. John Cho is, watching him. He might. I don't know. I mean, he's really incredible. Like I'm trying to
say it. Just say it.
Let it out, Proto.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but what I feel like is that John Cho. We haven't even seen the best work from him yet.
We haven't even scratched the surface.
We
of
haven't
John
even.
Cho.
We haven't even scratched. Okay, this guy. I think he could do some really incredible stuff, and him paired with Kogonada. There was a quote. I was looking around at just different stuff, and he had a quote about Kogonada where he says that he is an artist, and he made me feel like an artist, and something about like there's like a purity of the way he makes movies. This story was just incredible, and the feel and vibe of it were something special. The way he makes movies is so unique. So I loved it.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Fantastic movie. The one John Cho movie that I liked that maybe you should add to your watch list, Proto, was a recent one, Don't Make Me Go, 2022. A terminally ill man and his teenage daughter embark on a road trip from California to New Orleans for his 20th college reunion. While there, he secretly hopes he can reunite with the mother who left them long ago. So that's another kind of like, let the actor do some work movie.
He'll do the work.
Do the work. What was next?
Well, I got back on the AFI journey, and I watched on Tubi In the Heat of the Night.
Oh, goodness.
Gosh.
Watch.
This stars Sidney Poitier from 1967 and directed by our boy Norman Jewison, who directed Fiddler on the Roof, which we covered earlier in the year. I think this movie, I give 5 stars. This movie is a classic. I felt like it was in the same vein as something like Malcolm X. Like the picture of racism in the South in this, it feels like historic. Like should be a part of like the historical record. And it's like terrifying. Like this movie made me, I feel like it really put me in the shoes of what it could feel like at the time to live as a Black person in the South. Like in some ways, this movie is a horror movie. Like it's terrifying that there are people who live through some of the scenarios that play out in this movie every day of their life. It's really well done. Sidney Poitier is amazing in this. He has amazing hands. I have to just get that on the record. Yeah. You get a lot of close-up of his hands in this. Beautiful skin.
His vibe in that movie it's like unmatched.
Yeah.
He's so cool in that movie. Everything he does is cool.
And him paired with the police chief, there's great chemistry between them two.
Yeah. You got to watch the sequel. They Call Me Mr. Tibbs.
Yeah, I want to. I saw that. I think that popped up on Tubi. It was like, do you want this next? Well, and I had heard that line. And of course, it's homaged in The Lion King. They Call Me Mr. Pig. But I didn't know it. I didn't know it was from this movie, or maybe I did, but I just I forgot. So when it happened, it was pretty shocking, but great.
They Call Me Mr. Tibbs. I wrote my review. Maybe the worst sequel in movie history. Like it's awful. And I guess I can see it. Like, what if we make a franchise around this character? That like makes sense. There's a third one that I didn't realize. Maybe I forgot, where I was just so off the trail. But it's 3.1 on Letterboxd, The Organization. And he plays Virgil Tibbs in that one. That's also on Tubi.
Wow.
You still have time.
Hollywood-esque to try to make a sequel out of it in the heat of the night.
What about The Deer Hunter?
I've been holding in my thoughts.
Is this the biggest week in Proto's Letterboxd log life?
Can't hold it in. Proto.
I was planning on saving this one for one of my last movies to watch, but I've been listening to that Do We Get to Win This Time podcast series on the Big Picture podcast feed. And I know Slim and Dale are listening to it as well. But they were talking about Deer Hunter, and it just kind of got me feeling like it's time. It's time to finally watch this movie. And Danny, remember how when we covered The Godfather, you kind of felt like, I can't believe I got this far in life without seeing The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
I was having those same feelings watching Deer Hunter. And it might be because I think Michael Cimino reminds me so much of like the way Francis Ford Coppola makes movies. Like it feels like The Godfather. Like if I didn't know who directed this, I would have thought it was Coppola.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not really that familiar with the story before I saw it, but the first hour of this movie is just something incredible. I can't wait to do this movie.
Let's just do it.
Should we just do it?
A bonus episode of The Deer Hunter.
Danny has to see Deer Hunter. He has to see it.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
No one can tell us we can't do The Deer Hunter. Okay.
And what if I told you, like, you may have not seen yet Robert De Niro's best performance?
That's insane to me. I mean, I have to see it.
Mosh in chat. I've had The Deer Hunter on my shelf for years and still haven't seen it.
Oh,
is there 4K?
It's on Netflix right now. I know that. Yeah, there is a 4K. The links are popping up. This was a West Coast video watch for me, and I don't think I've watched it since then. So it's been 20 years since I've seen it.
We have to go back.
70 Timber.
This one, I always get this one confused with Deliverance. I think both of them unsettle me in different ways. But yeah, I'd love to rewatch this.
Gosh.
Yeah, there's so many movies in that podcast that I was like, oh man, I'd love to go back and watch this. But then I'm like, I have like 10 Vietnam War movies in my head that I want to go back and rewatch. I'm like, this sounds like the worst week ever. I would not be able to do this. So I'll just continue watching my dopey Stephen King TV movies. Every week, we give out a free year of Letterboxd Patron. Gets rid of ads. You can have a fancy backdrop on your profile and your reviews on your lists. You can set up your favorite streaming services to see when movies hit them so you can just stream them up when they're available. Just tag your review 70mm Pod if you want to be entered to win. Diana left a review for The Love Witch. 3 stars. Unfortunately, I'm not a Lana Del Rey girl, but I'm sure they love this. Wish we got more story with Elaine and Trish, especially when Elaine finds Trish towards the end of the movie. So, Diana, you just won a free year.
Goodness.
Letterboxd patron. We can talk. Mosh wants to hear about this Shining 1997 rewatch.
Let's hear it.
As maybe everyone knows, I'm on a Stephen King journey right now.
You just started it.
I started it as a joke just because I watched one Stephen King movie. And then I started saying it was King-tember. And then I was like talking to my wife, Amanda. I was like, what if we just start watching Stephen King movies? And what was the first one we did? We started watching Graveyard Shift, which sucked. Gave it a star and a half. But like, I don't know. These are like the perfect, it's 6 o'clock. We just had dinner. We're sitting on the couch. Let's put on a Stephen King movie. You know, that's like the dream. When I was a kid, I'm living my dream to just put on these random horror movies. And some of them are going to be crap. So then we watched Thinner. Thinner. With that like
the poster.
Great poster. This like guy in a fat suit gets cursed by a gypsy. You know the old story. And he starts losing weight and he's trying to like get himself out of it. I gave that one 3 stars. Mike, I've already seen Maximum Overdrive. I thought that one was trash. I know people there's like a cult following for Maximum Overdrive, but I'm not in that cult following. What else did I watch? Pet Sematary rewatch. I feel like I watch this yearly. 3 stars. That's the famous one. Remember, do you remember that one where like, Danny, have you ever seen Pet Sematary?
No, I haven't.
Proto?
No.
The famous one where like this family moves into a new town and their neighbor, Judd, has this thick Maine accent, tells them about this like pet cemetery nearby. So their cat dies. And Judd is like, oh, there's an old pet cemetery around here. Let's bring your dead cat over there. And they like bring the cat back to life because it's on like an Indian burial ground, essentially. So the cat like comes back. And this is not, I mean, I'm not spoiling anything, but their little kid gets hit by a tractor trailer outside their house. So, but they move into this house and they're like, there's no fence. And the thing with this town is tractor trailers go by at 80 miles an hour. It's like you see at the start of the movie and right off the bat, you're like, day one, let's put a fence in. Probably our next move. They don't do that. They're flying a kite. This kid starts running through their field. They're having a picnic. And the kid gets far away enough that the mother's like, oh my God, get our son. He's like running towards the street and the husband's like sprinting through the field. Doesn't make it there in time. The kid gets obliterated. There's a bloody shoe goes flying. So anyway, he tries to bring the kid back using the pet cemetery. Doesn't go well. But there's sequels that I'm interested in watching.
I think I would rather you just tell me Pet Cemetery than watch it.
Don't try to bring your son back. I should never have showed you that Pet Cemetery. So then I watched Storm of the Century.
I'm sorry. that was a misclick.
Get your finger off the bell. So then I was like thinking to myself, I started getting these memories that Stephen King used to do TV miniseries when I was growing up. Like it was a big thing to have like the Stephen King TV adaptation on television when I was like 13, 15 and older. So then I saw one that's streaming on Hulu that I had never seen, but I had heard of. It was called Storm of the Century. So it has like these TV actors like Tim Daly from Wings. Remember he did the voice of Superman in the animated series?
Yeah.
So this one is when a blizzard hits an isolated town, a mysterious stranger appears and terrorizes the town for a sinister purpose. So this one I actually like really enjoyed. I was shocked how much I enjoyed it. It's 3 episodes, 90 minutes long. And afterward I was like, man, do we need to go back to this formula? Because then I started like comparing it to the Bly House Netflix series. You know, there's like 10 episodes, an hour, 20 minutes long each episode.
Really?
They're long. Well, they're long. Some of them are like 45 minutes. Some of them are an hour. It depends on whatever they want to do. But then, which I like that stuff. But then I thought he overindulged himself on that, like, what was the Catholic one that came out a couple years ago with the priest? Haunting church haunt. I don't know what that was called.
Churchill.
But so like, Haunting of Church House. So, but that one, like Flanagan just leaned in on like, what if I just do one episode where 2 characters talk and it'll blow your mind. And he just did that like too much and it sucked, I thought. So like these episodes, they're 90 minutes. They took place over 3 nights. And these were like events when I was growing up. So I had a great time watching Storm of the Century. I thought the ending was kind of haunting. So then I was like, The Shining. I'm not sure if everyone remembers this, but they did a TV movie version of The Shining in 1997. Let that sink in. Speaking of which, that's a phrase that I had blocked on Twitter for years. I couldn't stand when people said that in a tweet. But the backstory is apparently Stephen King really did not like the movie adaptation that Kubrick did, which I think we talked about in that episode. So when his TV movies were like popular, like, oh, maybe I can do The Stand again the way I want to do it.
Shining.
The Shining, sorry.
Forgiven.
And apparently, like the Wikipedia, I don't know if this is true, but the Wikipedia said that Kubrick would only allow it to happen if Stephen King promised in writing to stop taking a dump on his version of the movie. So apparently that's what they did. And maybe like part of the agreement was he could only disparage Jack Nicholson's performance and nothing else.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how much true this is. I didn't see like a reference link for me to read or whatever, but
We'll ask Steven.
We'll get Steven on the horn, Kingcast. So this one, unfortunately, I know that does. At the time, I remember people actually really loving this version of The Shining because it's more true to the book. It like follows it really closely, and it gets 4.5 hours, you know, essentially to breathe. Unfortunately, I did not love it. I thought it was just a drag. It's too long. Steven Weber, who plays Jack Torrance, I feel like is just kind of miscast. But funnily enough, the wiki also says that like critics are agreeing that over the years it's actually not good, and that people were just like wrong at the time. So, what can you do? You know, what can you do?
Was TV miniseries a mistake?
Yeah, we're back.
I'm already going back on my thoughts on Storm of the Century.
How do you and Amanda choose what you're going to watch next? Do you like give her a rundown of a few available and then you kind of hash it out, or do you just put something on?
Usually I do it pretty sarcastically, and I'm like Turkington from On Sim, and I'll like come into the room and be like, "It's movie time," and she'll just kind of like groan loudly. So I usually ask her like, "What are you in the mood for? You want to watch TV or are you crocheting? Can I put a movie on? Like, do you care?" She's like, "Just put on whatever." That's generally what kind of happens. So, like I said, dream scenario to young me working at a video store. And that's generally how it is. So, yeah, she really did not like The Shining. The kid who plays Danny Torrance was super annoying. She was actually just like making fun of him for 4 hours doing his voice. So, you know, on to the next one. I'm hoping The Stand is next because I want to watch The Stand a lot.
What's The Stand about?
If I remember correctly, The Stand is like when the devil comes to town or something.
Oh.
I don't know. Like it sounds exactly what I just like, almost like what I just watched.
It's time.
But that's all I remember. That's all I want to know of it. I just want to go in, you know, blind, pretty much. Remember, Ahsoka talk right around the corner. We're so close.
Big time.
Oh, well, I guess we dropped our Ponyo app this week.
Oh,
Yeah.
What an app.
Great
Yeah.
time.
Great
Beautiful
conversation.
Thank you.
Unreal art.
Casey made
Ridiculous.
me make a wallpaper for her phone.
Do you want that out, that you're making wallpaper versions
No.
of the art? How many people are going to want to drop down this just like wallpaper and then they can
No.
download that?
Just copy the Instagram image.
Actually, we're already getting some votes for wallpaper versions of the
Nope.
art in chat.
Just cut the stream. Show's over.
Okay, so main course, it's Femtember. The Love Witch. Proto's pick. Anna Biller. This movie swept the Bat and Spider Nation in 2016. Proto, what is this movie about?
Elaine Parks is a sociopath who will systematically seduce men, drug them with a concoction of alcohol and hallucinogenic herbs, meet their needs sexually with perhaps a fine steak dinner, and then leave them to die a slow, agonizing death while they feel their feelings on a level never before reached. Elaine is a love witch specializing in potions, dancing, and sex magic. After her husband Jerry dies, she relocates and begins looking for love with mixed results. Can Elaine find love that lasts? Can she find a man that can handle being loved? Will she be convicted of desecrating a corpse? The Love Witch.
Can we get that onto a shirt?
No. Right with the wallpapers.
It's coming very soon, folks. Stay tuned.
Right around the corner.
Danny, what's your history with The Love Witch? Is there any history for you?
My only history with it is whenever I would see our dear friend from the show, Chuck Forsman, on any sort of Zoom feed, there was a poster behind him of the Love Witch. And other than that, that's all I knew about it. Yeah, that's it. And our dear friends at the movie Mixtape did an episode on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Mikey
about it.
P., executive producer of that show, did some amazing art for that episode.
For that, yeah. That's all I knew about the Love Witch.
Can I just read Chuck Forsman's review? Because I love his review for The Love Witch. It has no stars, and it just says, hard for me to write about this movie. It's too important to me. I love just his passion for this movie. This came out in 2016. He saw it in 2021, our friend Chuck, and I saw it 2 years ago. So, yeah, I had no idea this movie existed until a few years ago, and finally got around to it and was delighted. My first viewing.
I think Chuck and Dale from the Bat and Spider podcast might have been the first of our group to like watch it and alert us to it. Because I think I watched it also around the same time after Chuck was, I just saw this movie. And then like we saw screenshots and we're like, whoa, what is this thing? It looks cool.
I could have sworn they'd already done an up on it too.
That's what I thought. Did we just dream that?
Why didn't they?
That's a good question.
Good
Not enough
question.
nudity, maybe. Didn't Reach the Bat and Spider bar. So there was like some smoke in our Discord this week, as people started watching it and then maybe doing some research on the director, Anna Biller. So if you go on Anna's wiki, you'll see a section talking about her potentially being a TERF and transphobic. So what the heck is a TERF? Maybe people are wondering. TERF means trans exclusionary radical feminist. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the feminism angle as we get into the movie. But TERFs essentially, it's like a label for people, for feminists that don't believe that trans women are women. They don't agree with any trans legislation. So you might have heard that term with like J.K. Rowling. It's probably the most popular. I'll say her name,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't give her any power, me saying her name.
No.
So you maybe like, why am I bringing this up? I didn't want anyone listening to this episode and being like, why aren't they bringing it up? So I asked members of our Discord to kind of like help. Like, is Anna Biller a TERF? Like, what's this all about? So Kenzo, who was on our Speed episode, co-host of the Austin Danger podcast, said yes, I think she is a TERF. Her partner Rachel also said yes. So they both mentioned her talking about in tweets from like 2018 about the title of a woman or womanhood being like stripped away from her in her tweets. And that's generally a potential red flag for being kind of like in that group of feminists. So some problematic views if you do some poking around. It's not as like explicit as someone like J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
But enough question marks that make your eyebrows raise. So we're not experts, but we have the capacity and desire to learn. So that's what we're trying to do. So with like stuff like that, maybe just keep an open mind, learn, listen, and do some reading if you can. So I just wanted to talk about that at the top of the show. Top of the segment anyway.
Thank you.
So we generally write 3 things down as we watch these movies. We'll take some notes. We'll go round table. I'm sure lots of our notes overlap for our top 3 probably. But this is Proto's pick. So why don't you lead us off?
I think the thing I have to talk about first is just the masterclass in recreating the look and feel of a movie from the 1960s, and the way that it's handled in this. I think the first time I watched this, Jenna, my wife, came in at one point and was like, "What are you watching?" And she was like, and I think it was the scene where they're like in the strip club, and she was just like, "All right, I'm out." She was like, "What's going on?"
She started making you a steak dinner and you started sweating.
What's this rainbow coat, Jenna?
So the same thing happened where I'm like halfway through this movie and she comes in and she starts watching it with me. And I'm like, I can turn it off. We don't have to watch this because you kind of, you're not vibing with it or whatever. And she's like, no, you can keep it on. And then she's like, what? All over again. And I'm explaining to it. I'm like, it's amazing, this movie, just like the way it looks, right? Like it looks like a movie from the 60s. She's like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then there's like something from modern time comes in, like a car or I forget what it is. And she's like, wait, what? When was this movie made? I'm like, it was made in 2016. And she couldn't believe it. So, and of course she's, Jenna, she doesn't watch a lot of movies, but just to her, like seeing it's convincing with the eye test for almost anybody to think that this movie is actually, 60 years old rather than 5 or whatever, or I guess almost 10 now.
I remember I think I saw the trailer maybe when Chuck first logged it, and I watched the trailer, and that's when I was like, wait, when was this movie made? It's filmed in 35 millimeter. It looks gorgeous. Like the way that she filmed this, Anna Biller like edited, shot it, wrote it, did everything, costumes.
Composed it.
And like literally every credit is pretty much her name going through the front of the movie. But man, right from the get-go, the visual vibes are off the charts.
Yeah.
Like you're kind of like buckled up already. Like hell yeah. Like let's see. I want to see more of this world. Danny, what did you think?
When Elaine is pulling up in that Mustang, I'm just like, well, I'm just going to Letterboxd and giving this 5 stars now. Like the vibe right away. I'm like, oh my God, yes, please, all of it. Her apartment. It was really funny to me that the story of her apartment was done by the other lady. She decorated it for her.
Right. Yeah.
Can you imagine getting that call? This is how I need this apartment decorated. And it's nothing but occult kind of art. And it was just the vibes in that apartment were incredible. Everything about anything that Elaine was doing, her potions, the painting, I just kind of loved looking at it. It was just gorgeous. Like the use of color, if you use color well, you've won me over. Like it's just the way that she used it in this film, even down to just her blue eyeshadow was just, I was vibing hard with that. Like she just looked incredible. She looked incredible. The sets look incredible. And I really dug that about this film.
Yeah. Art. Just posted a psychotic Photoshop. Where did that photo even come from? I've never seen that photo posted. How is art finding this image?
Can't. Cut the stream.
I'm loving imagining Art at work on his phone, like at his desk, and he's like turned to the side and he's pinch zooming, dropping PNG images.
I can't.
Oh, what's that bus? No, sorry. He like fumbles his phone and goes flying in the air.
Love Witch starts playing in the background.
Yeah, my first point is Samantha Robinson, who is the lead, right? That's Samantha Robinson.
Yeah.
The lead in the movie. It's like it's like impossible to not be transfixed by her, the way that she is shot and her costumes, her makeup, the way that the camera just like sits on her face. Like every shot on the TMDb of like the backdrops are beautiful. Like her wearing the pink outfit at the tea place or whatever.
Insane.
It's literally absurd how gorgeous that is. Every time she's moving around, like the way that it's conveyed that she's a witch and her gaze can almost like entrap you. It works. Like remember she's in the park and she locks eyes with that teacher and he just like stops talking to the woman he was talking to and just walks over to her. There are so many beautiful shots. This needs a 4K release. Like I'd love to see this in 4K with like Dolby Vision popping. Oh, yeah. It would be nuts. But yeah, Samantha is, at the core of all of that. And I was like, every time this is the second time I've seen this, but still blown away on this watch.
Yeah, I love her line delivery. Just the way she carries herself is just so funny. I just like kept writing lines down as it was happening because it like they feel like iconic. Like just I love to love. Just everything that she says, it just comes off, and her personality just fits it so well. Especially with how the story ends, I think, because you kind of as it goes further and further, you're like, all right, this woman, there might be something wrong with her,
Right. Danny, what's your number one?
My number one is it really was kind of talking about how it looked. I have an issue with this movie.
Let it out.
I hated that it wasn't in the 70s.
Oh.
I really disliked being pulled out of a scene when they bring something modern in. So like when she's driving the Mustang, gorgeous. I'm like, yes, we're in the 70s, 60s, etc. The modern cop car pulls up. I'm like, why? I don't like this. And then it's like, okay, whatever. Then she pulls up to the house and then the BMW pulls up behind her. I'm like, what? Why are we doing these amazing 70s vibes and keeping it modern? But every time something happened where we would spend so much time in her apartment and with Elaine, and she's doing her thing, and it's just like incredible vibes. And then something modern comes in, I'm like whooshed out of enjoying myself in this film. I really just did not like. I really didn't like that aspect of it. I really wish it was either the whole film in the 70s or no 70s vibes, and it's a fully modern film. Like even what she was wearing and dressed. There's something about the disconnect between those two different kind of eras where she's stuck in the past and we're in the modern times. It just really, it didn't work well for me. And it really took me out every time it happened. Robert
in Discord suggests it could be a smart commentary on how things haven't changed. That's why certain aspects were like 70s-ish while the rest were modern day. I agree. I remember like I forgot on this watch. I was like, oh yeah, 70s vibe or 60s, 70s. And then I forgot that the police car was modern day. And I was like, crap. And then like the BMW. And then someone like use an iPhone at some point in the movie. But yeah, it is a very strange decision. And I can see that being like, maybe it's budgetary reason. And like, maybe Annabelle was like, just F it. I'll do whatever with what I have. What do you think, Proto?
I don't really mind it that much. It does create really confusing visual though when you see it. And I don't know if it's because it looks so authentic, being shot in 35 millimeter. It looks almost like the BMW, when that BMW first shows up, it looks like it was almost like photoshopped into the movie. It looks so out of place.
It really does.
But I kind of agree with what Robert was saying, is that I think it might be, like commentary and how things haven't changed. And I would buy that because Anna Biller seems like a very cerebral kind of director in that way. Like she's kind of like she's doing many things at once in her storytelling.
I think I would buy that more if the movie had better writing and it was kind of not overtly. It just felt like it almost felt like we ran out of money. Like we couldn't afford to do this instead of like, this is on purpose. I think actually a lot of the aspects of the movie felt like that. Like
2.5 star incoming.
No. It just felt like nothing felt fully fleshed out. It was just always like, did they run out of money or did they get rushed for time with this or something? Like there's something about that it just didn't feel like it was at least on purpose,
right?
In my opinion.
Yeah, I wonder what this would look like with almost a sort of director that doesn't have the wherewithal to do 90% of the production and also make it look amazing. Like, I wonder what this would be from someone else. Like, would they not have any of the modern cars? Would they do different things? Because, I mean, she literally did everything on the movie. So everything kind of falls to Anna Biller, her decision-making. Part of what's number 2?
Number 2, I love how she flips the script and makes men look like babies. And like objects that can be very easily controlled and manipulated. She has a lot of great lines about it. Early on, she says, according to the experts, men are very fragile. And like, you have to just give them what they want. And then you'll get what you want out of them. What would you say? Give them total freedom to whatever they want to do or be. And I love the different ways that it plays out in the movie. Like at one point, she has like narration over all of this. And at one point she says like, most men haven't even seen a used tampon. And then when the 2 cops dig it up, they're like, what the hell is this? They're like, I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. I love her interactions with Trish about like finding love, and I think one of her quotes also is like giving men
sex is a way of unlocking their love potential.
So many things like that where the character of Elaine is like so focused on getting things that she wants. And I think a lot of too the commentary on the movie, at least at the time when it came out, was like flipping the script on what a femme fatale is. What if we made it so that she essentially was trying to subvert, feminist quote expectations at the time and today. So seeing like these men like fawn over her and then have like emotional breakdowns afterward, like it was cracking me up. I know I saw a lot of reviews that some folks were like expecting a horror movie and were kind of like taken aback that there wasn't any of that really. And it was, I still think the movie is very funny. Like so many lines from her. There's one scene, I wish I wrote down the whole quote. Oh yeah, it was the teacher or whatever. I wrote in my line, this dude ain't doing jack shit on these drugs. Like when he was trying to like, I guess like make love to her or whatever. And she's recounting the story. I think she ends the story with,
What a pussy.
what a pussy.
What a
Like she's talking about this guy and he's like dead. Like I was cracking up. And I guess maybe my second point is connected to that. Like I love the 60s, 70s stilted low budget delivery from like her and the dudes. Like the cop their cop conversations when he comes out of his office and the one woman cop is talking to him. It's so bad. It's
bad.
like so uncomfortable. And then he's talking to his partner. Like that stuff is cracking me up. Like at least in my viewing of the movie, I viewed that as just very comedic and satirical of the 60s and 70s low budget, kind of, I guess, not exploitation, but like maybe something where the woman would have been doing something totally different in that film. So I was cracking up. Like the husband, when he's like sobbing, remember he's shaking his head for the last 5 minutes. When this dude is like sobbing because he can't be with Elaine, I was taking so many photos of my TV in the basement of like him sobbing. So yeah, that stuff I adored. Like I love this stilted aesthetic. Danny, maybe you had different opinions?
Every like intro to those scenes where he comes out of his office and the lady cop talks to him, or even like it just felt like it just was like bad. Like it's almost stereotypical, like early, like porn writing. Like, I'm just a witch in a new town looking for love.
Yeah.
What can I find? And it just, and then she's like, what are you doing tonight for dinner? And it's just so like set. It's like every scene felt like a setup for porn. And that's how I felt the entire time. Like, it was just, I don't know if it made me laugh. I'm just like, what is happening? Who wrote this film? It was just like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not getting this. I wasn't getting like any satirical vibe with it because it just felt like bad writing and bad acting, to be honest.
Double threat.
Oh, I wrote this insane line down. Use sex magic to destroy his fear of you. It will open the floodgates of love. Only then will he see you as a human being.
There's a lot of Pisces bashing in this movie too. I appreciate that. If I have one critique, it would be the bashing of Pisces.
I should have known he's a Pisces.
Danny, number 2.
Did they not have a budget for any hot male actors?
Were there any male hot actors in the 60s or 70s?
2016?
In these kinds of movies? I don't know.
No, these guys were in modern times. Where are the hot men? I couldn't get over how ugly these guys were that she was going after. She wanted to fall in love and marry these guys. And it was just amazing to me. I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand. All they had the budget for was Elaine, one hot actress. No hot men in this.
Not enough hot people in this movie.
That's so funny. I feel
one
like
guy doesn't even have eyebrows.
The dead husband. Every time the dead husband appeared on screen with that
like
hair.
A jump scare every
absolutely
time.
repulsive hair.
The smile.
It was giving me like Twin Peaks vibes.
Oh yeah.
That's a good call out. Pardo, would you lack of hot men in this movie?
I don't know. See, that's the thing. Like, I feel like it was perfect. Like, it was pitch perfect, these dudes. Like, they look like schlubs. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, and maybe this is really how all men look. You know?
That's true.
We're all schlubs at the end of the day. But yeah, I don't think I would want hot guys. And I think it would kind of break the vibe. It's funnier to see these guys die the way they do.
Pardo, number 3.
We got to talk about the ending because I had completely forgotten what happens at the end of this movie. So, here's Griff. He gives her, and I don't think I connected the dots the first time I saw this, but that scene at the end where he gives her the male gaze and like stares her down, and then she starts to like cower in fear.
Yeah,
that's so great. But as a guy, I'm watching this, and you're falling in love with Elaine, and you're thinking, you know what? She's got a point. She didn't really kill any of these guys. It's just the potion was maybe a little too strong. She wants to be with them. She loves them. She's doing all the right things, pretty much. So I'm buying into the Elaine. Maybe if I met Elaine, maybe I would date her. That's what I'm thinking.
You're all in.
I'm all in on Elaine at this
Yeah.
point. Like, what's not to love about a witch? A lot of upside. But then she goes and kills Griff, really just to cover her tracks. And in that moment, I feel like it kind of like the walls like fall down. It's like, all right, she really is like a sociopath who is gonna, she's not oblivious to what she's doing. She's doing it intentionally, and she's going to kill this guy to cover up. And it kind of like, and I feel like in that moment, you're like, oh man, I felt like I bought into Elaine, even though she clearly kills a few guys. And I'm thinking like, she's not all that bad. So I just love how this movie kind of like does that and gets you to buy into her.
The potion worked on you as you were watching the movie in a way. Yeah, I've totally forgot about the ending too. When doesn't she see the card too? Doesn't she
The
look
tarot?
at the tarot card? And then when she like looks back at him, it's just like that skull.
Yes.
Looking back at her.
Oh, yeah.
And also she has that like, magical fairy tale ending of the wedding or whatever. I mean, how about their drip at that fair? The horse riding drip that they had, wearing the white dress shirts and the parachute pants, whatever you want to call those things. Whew. Unreal.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked by the ending. I couldn't remember what the heck happened until this rewatch.
I thought it was interesting that she mimicked her painting that she had started at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. One of my points was, I mean, we talked about the visuals, but the hallucination sex with that beardo, like that whole scene is wild. Like with the rainbow stuff.
The prisms?
The
Yeah.
prisms.
What the hell? She pulled out the coat.
Man, that guy
That
was
coat.
effed up.
Lord
Yeah.
have mercy.
I wouldn't have been able to walk, let alone what they
Hump.
did together. Yeah, I'd be face down on the floor, probably steak pouring out of my mouth.
Based on something.
I did want to bring up, my wife and I went, I can't remember if I told this story on this show or not, but we went to a ghost hunt a couple years ago in Gettysburg. It was like an Airbnb where we go with other couples, and we at this old building in Gettysburg that was like a hospital during the war. So this like ghost hunting team puts up this event. You do a seance, you do some walk through the land with some, electrical equipment and stuff. But two of the women there were witches. So Amanda and I sit down, we're like introducing the couples, and we were just like sitting listening to these women talk. Like this is real life. Like there are witches out there today. Okay, folks? So I'll link. I ended up doing a podcast about it. I think we had this conversation about the witch stuff, but at that time I was like, Amanda and I were like eyes darting across the room. Like, are we both hearing this at the same time? Because I'd never had any like, encounter like that in my life. So I just wanted to call that out, that it's real. It happens. Danny, final point.
Oh. Well, this is in the vein of what you were just talking about with the witches and stuff. Does our love witch Elaine do any witchcraft in this entire movie? Or is she just poisoning people with tea?
I mean, I think a lot of the witch stuff is like those concoctions and potions, essentially.
Is that what it is?
For lack of a better word.
I'm wanting, like, she rolls out like those voodoo dolls at one point. I'm like, okay, here we go. Witch stuff. And they just kind of get wrapped back up and put away. Like, I was wanting way more witchcraft in this film than just, here, drink some tea. I'm going to flash my coat. And then you're going to get shroomed up and we're going to have sex and you're going to love me forever. Like, I don't know if I wanted more horror out of this, but I definitely was expecting more witch stuff. I couldn't get over how little witchcraft we got in a movie called The Love Witch.
I mean,
Well, remember,
And I don't even think we got enough love for this movie. Like,
not enough love, not enough witch.
not enough love. And
Wow.
every time I heard like, this is a horny movie, et cetera, it didn't go far enough. There was not enough horn in this movie. There's hornier movies that I've seen on this podcast. It was amazing I couldn't get over there was very little witchcraft done. I don't know. It just was interesting to me.
Well, remember, at one point she describes witchcraft and she says that witchcraft is just your ability to exert your will to get what you want. So I guess maybe in the traditional sense, we think of witchcraft as having some kind of spiritual or paranormal effect, where for her, it's just all very practical. And it makes you think like, man, if witches weren't so suppressed in our culture, how much good could they have done? You know?
I mean, a lot of the non, movie witch stuff is like stones, herbalism, tarot cards, and some psychic stuff. That's like modern, real, quote, real life witchery. So I think it does that pretty well in the movie. I mean, there is the herbalism stuff, use tampon. I don't know if actual witches use tampons in
We'll
there.
have to double check that.
Not Google searching that at all to confirm, but
it just didn't. It just I just wanted something more. Like I thought we were going to get it a little bit, but it just felt so. It almost felt like the witchcraft felt like an afterthought.
G-rated witchery.
Yeah, I needed R-rated witchery.
Fair.
Proto, final thoughts? Honorable mentions?
Honorable mentions. I love the lighting in this. There's so many shots of like they have like the strong red and blue lighting coming on the characters. And it's not that it looks good or realistic. It just feels so fitting to the vibe that's being established in the movie. God, Wayne was so good. Oh, in the bar, there was the one character, I think he was like a local. I think his name was Lyle, where he would just he kind of looked like Steve.
The yelling guy?
Yeah, the guy would yell. And he would just kind of be like, there's witches in this town. I think the witches killed him. He was great.
How about that guy that looked like Tim Burton? That like dude witch.
Oh, the dude witch.
The dude witch was so disgusting.
Oh my gosh.
Get that guy off my
was
screen.
Was he like Elaine's mentor? Was that like, did he train
that
her?
whole coven?
He was gross.
All hot women, no hot dudes.
There was a dude who was like 85, kneeling down nude.
What are we doing?
Falling asleep in that circle.
Men are gross.
The scene where Griff, the cop, gets in a fight with his partner, Steve. They're like disagreeing, and he's saying like, Elaine's a witch. She probably killed those dudes. And Griff is caught in the web already. He's not seeing it. And then he gives a punch to Steve.
That punch
knocks him
in the
down.
office.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was watching. If I wasn't watching it for this podcast, I would have turned it off right there.
Oh my God.
It almost felt like a little like love tap. Like Steve's reaction of falling back didn't really make sense. But I feel like you could give a friend like a hit. Like I feel like next time I see Slim, I could like just give him.
The amount of people that would love to punch me in the face.
I mean, just a little love tap, just to connect. It won't hurt. Just be like soft connect there.
We should reenact it.
I'm down. I'll take the punch too if we want to.
You
go
be
that
Griff.
way.
I'll be Elaine.
Next 70mm summit.
The scene at the end where Trish dresses up as Elaine.
Oh man.
And discovers the voodoo dolls and her husband's picture with Elaine.
Yeah. The framed pictures.
Oh my God.
Like, talk about regret. Maybe I shouldn't have dressed up in her clothes and underwear at this revelation. Like, this doesn't really look good for me right now.
Yeah, and then she's on top of her and she says, "Bitch, you killed my husband," like while she looks exactly like her and like punching her. Amazing. Amazing moment. Yeah, I had a great time rewatching this. I love this movie. I think it's hilarious. I think it's gorgeous. I love the context and the commentary of everything involved. So I'm still at 4 stars for The Love Witch.
The Love Witch.
The Love Witch.
There was one my honorable mentions. Oh, did you notice when the cop was at his desk and his monitor is like barely off screen, there's a printout that covers the monitor. It's almost like a printout of a computer desktop.
I swear,
that is like taped to the
There's
monitor.
zero budget in this movie.
It's like they didn't have the budget for the power cords of these monitors that they probably found at the scrapyard. I mean, honestly, pretty smart idea to just make it work. Ev and chat, can we talk about that last tea scene with Trish? Yeah, when Trish is like grieving in black and she's telling her about how like she's going to marry the cop and all that stuff. Yeah, rough turn of events for Trish. What is a furniture convention? Did you notice that Trish was going to a furniture convention?
She's an interior designer.
That sounds like a made-up convention.
Jenna went to one of those earlier this year.
I need photo evidence, Jenna, if you're listening.
In Texas, I think it's in Texas, there's like the furniture capital of the world. There's like all these furniture companies go there. I forget what it's
Dale,
called.
Can you cut the stream?
God, I'm gonna find it.
After we Google about tampons, we'll Google about the furniture king of the world.
I still really enjoyed this movie. This viewing, I started to feel like, yes, it is maybe a little bit too long. Like it's 2 hours. I think 90 minutes would have been fantastic.
You cut that Ren Fair out.
That Ren Fair is a long scene.
A long scene.
Cut that whole thing out. And you'd have yourself a quick little movie. So I'm lowering my rating. I'm at 4 stars for The Love Witch for this go round.
Yeah, for me, I didn't enjoy this film at all. There were the bits that I loved, which had to really just kind of do with visuals, her apartment, her look, the color. But man, everything about each kind of aspect of this film never felt fully realized for me. Everything felt like, and not even like budgetary constraints. Just the story just didn't connect with me. Every actor just kind of felt a little bit over the top. Not Elaine. I thought she was great, but nothing felt fully realized, and everything kind of just felt, I don't know, boring-ish, kind of blah. I mean, truthfully, if I wasn't watching this film for the podcast, I think it would have been a DNF for me.
Wow.
I really was bored. It really was just boring. And I think I expected way too much out of it. I expected, for something unrated, I was like, man, we're going to get some blood and sex.
Plus, it had some considerable like hype in our circles.
It really did. I think it definitely was overhyped a bit, but I can take that as I can trust my friends to like love a movie and me love it back. But there was just something, I don't know. I expected too much. My bar was raised too high, I think. But then again, I was still just bored. I really just didn't have a good time. So I'm at 2 stars for this film.
We'll get through this.
We're working through it. We'll come out stronger. We always come out stronger at the end of these episodes than we were before. That's a fact, Jack. Okay?
It's finished.
We made it through. We're stronger than ever. And
I don't want a 4K of this.
They're asking for artwork in the chat.
It'll be there in 2
if folks
shakes.
are listening to this right now, you can see the art in the podcast app, and it's glorious.
2 shakes.
Danny delivers again.
Every movie deserves 5-star art. That's my motto.
Oh my God. It's a great slogan. All right. What is the name of this month? Femtember.
We haven't landed on the name.
September is continuing. Next week is my pick. I'm about to reveal it right now.
Talk to us. Talk to us about your journey to pick
My
the
journey.
process.
My God, what a journey. I'd still love to do my other options. I feel like I have some great options here.
But you've landed. You're locked. You don't want to talk through these options with us.
Here's one that didn't make the cut.
Jeez.
Well, first of all, I picked a movie that none of us have logged. That
Great.
was the main motive.
It's a great motive.
Love it.
But the honorable mentions that didn't make it. Agnes Varda's Le Bon Heur, 1965, was in the running. Only a woman could dare to make this film.
That was the tagline?
Though married to a good-natured, beautiful Teresa, young husband and father Francois finds himself falling unquestionably into an affair with an attractive postal worker. Streaming on Criterion Max. Very close to choosing this one. I watched this for a Letterboxd show. I don't have ratings. This movie shocked me. That's all I'll say. And again, we're going to be posting a Patreon post. We're going to ask people for their comments about what they want us to cover. Maybe some of these movies you want to see. Post in the comments. Another one of them in the running from Claire Denis, 1999, Beau Travail. Probably one of the most famous posters I've ever seen in my life.
Excuse me?
Look at
It's been my watch list for years.
Look at these. Look at this poster. You'll have to click through, obviously, but Foreign Legion officer Gallup recalls his once glorious life, leading troops into the Gulf of Djibouti. His existence there was happy, strict, and regimented, but the arrival of a promising young recruit plants the seeds of jealousy in his mind. Really want to see this one. This was I've seen this on like every list ever. Yeah. My number 2 pick.
What's left?
This was the one. It was between this one and my pick. It was Past Lives.
Oh my gosh.
Celine's song. This is a rental. I almost picked this. Again, we'll have a Patreon post. Put in the comments what movie you want to see us do. But I saw it already. I came to this pick. 90 minutes long.
Oh.
Actually, no, I'm sorry, 82 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Do you believe?
This is 5 stars.
Celine Sciamma, back on the show. 2011, Tomboy. Streaming on the Criterion channel.
Gosh.
My
queen.
Almost picked this for the last, I think, women-focused month. I can't remember what I chose over it. There was a reason why. Maybe it wasn't streaming at the time. There's a new kid in town. A French family with 2 daughters. 10-year-old Laurie and 6-year-old Jean moved to a new neighborhood during the summer holidays. With her tomboy ways, Laurie is immediately mistaken for a boy by the local kids and passes herself off as Michael.
What?
I've been waiting to watch this movie mainly for the podcast. So
Excuse me.
82 minutes.
This is exciting.
Streaming on the Criterion. Celine back on the show.
Dang.
My absolute queen.
We're back.
This is huge.
We are so back. That reminds me, I forgot to talk about that gun-wielding chimp from Lawnmower Man.
Oh.
Dumbass movie. Oh, gosh. That's it. Now we have our week planned out. We got a lot of Patreon posts coming to help us select the last
we do.
movie. Pardo, any closing thoughts?
Maybe we should all, look into witchcraft a little bit. You know what? After I watched this movie the first time, I thought, maybe women are onto something. Maybe they should be in charge. Maybe this whole witchcraft thing, maybe there's something there. Maybe our world would be a better place with more witchcraft. The things that can't be measured by science. The things you feel in your gut.
Right.
That you know to be true. Your intuition. Men don't have much intuition. That's why we discount these kind of things. But my daughter, 10, she could tell you, she could look at you and she knows your with what astrology sign you are.
Really?
It's incredible. She the other night she told me all of her friends, she knows their sign. And she's in deep. I don't even know how she got there. But I think there's something there. So I think we all just have to continue to keep an open mind to these things.
Keep an open mind always. We'll see everybody next week. Tomboy streaming on the Criterion channel. .70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large, Dale_A. Transcripts provided by Sophie Shin and music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.